John D. Rockefeller, once feared across America, was the world's first billionaire and one of the wealthiest individuals in history. His empire, Standard Oil, became a monopoly that dominated the oil industry, using ruthless tactics to crush rivals and manipulate markets. His rise to power, marked by fierce competition and confrontations with figures like Andrew Carnegie and US presidents, was as cutthroat as it was ambitious. Born in 1839 to a poor farming family, Rockefeller's father, a mysterious con man, left him and his siblings to fend for themselves. His mother instilled a strong religious faith and a sense of responsibility. Despite their poverty, Rockefeller showed entrepreneurial spirit, earning small amounts of money from a young age. However, at 10, his father's scandal forced the family to move, and John had to support his mother and siblings. At 16, Rockefeller entered the workforce after his dream of college was dashed by financial constraints. He started as a bookkeeper in Cleveland, where his diligence earned him respect and his first taste of financial independence. By 1855, he was earning $50 a week, and by 1857, he formed a business partnership with chemist Morris Clark, starting Clark and Rockefeller. When the Civil War began, Rockefeller's profits soared, and in 1859, he saw an opportunity in the burgeoning oil industry. Partnering with Samuel Andrews, he invested in an oil refinery, and within a year, it became their most profitable venture, prompting them to shift focus entirely to refining. As oil prices fluctuated wildly, Rockefeller focused on refining rather than extraction, and in 1865, he bought out Morris for $72,500, signaling his commitment to the industry. Rockefeller renamed his company Standard Oil and expanded rapidly, forming a key partnership with Henry Flagler. They used strategic alliances, including favorable shipping deals with railroads, to drive out competitors. Their aggressive pricing strategy forced many rivals out of business, consolidating power in Standard Oil. By 1872, with Standard Oil dominating the market, prices continued to drop, prompting Rockefeller to create a monopoly by consolidating refineries. His secret alliance with railroads and other refineries, known as the South Improvement Company, allowed Standard Oil to secure exclusive shipping rates. This led to public outrage and the eventual collapse of the alliance, but Rockefeller believed consolidation was necessary to stabilize the industry. Despite the controversy, Standard Oil continued to grow, shaping the future of the oil industry and solidifying Rockefeller's legacy as a pivotal figure in American business history. John D. Rockefeller, undeterred by setbacks, sought to control the oil industry through sheer power. After the collapse of the South Improvement Company, SIC, rumors of its secret alliance with railroads persisted, fueling fears that Standard Oil was still colluding with railroads. Rockefeller exploited this fear during the Cleveland Massacre, pressuring 22 of 26 Cleveland refineries to sell at low prices, capitalizing on their panic. Rockefeller not only spread fear, but also showcased Standard Oil's financial stability, convincing struggling refineries to sell out. By 1873, he controlled a vast oil empire in Cleveland. However, the 1873 depression caused oil prices to plummet, and many refineries struggled, including Standard Oil, which could only operate 2 refineries. Still, Rockefeller saw opportunity and launched a nationwide acquisition campaign using aggressive tactics like buying up machinery and forcing competitors into bankruptcy. By the time the economy recovered, Standard Oil controlled much of Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and New York's refining capacity. To reduce dependence on railroads, Rockefeller built an extensive pipeline network, further consolidating his power and earning Standard Oil the nickname the octopus. By his early 30s, Rockefeller had become the dominant force in the oil industry. His next major battle was with the railroads, particularly the Pennsylvania Railroad, which had long profited from transporting oil. In response to Rockefeller's growing pipeline system, Pennsylvania Railroad owner Tom Scott retaliated by building his own pipeline and refineries. This sparked a full-scale war, with Rockefeller cutting prices and convincing other railroads to slash shipping fees, severely hurting Pennsylvania Railroad. The Pennsylvania Railroad was crippled, leading to a violent labor strike. Rockefeller, worried about the consequences, proposed a deal with the railroads to help them survive. In exchange for stability, he secured lower shipping fees, access to competitors' shipment information, and a commission on all oil transported by railroads. This agreement gave Rockefeller total control over the railroads and solidified his dominance in the oil industry, with Standard Oil controlling 90% of U.S. oil refining. Despite his agreement with the Pennsylvania Railroad, Tom Scott could never recover from the losses, and within a year, he suffered a stroke and died. Many believed Rockefeller's tactics contributed to Scott's demise, and this fueled a fierce rivalry between Rockefeller and Andrew Carnegie, who had once advised Scott. Both men sought to outdo each other in wealth, and their competition would intensify in the years that followed. During this period, Rockefeller became a highly controversial public figure. His wealth and the battles with the Pennsylvania Railroad and Carnegie put him in the media spotlight. Yet despite his power, Rockefeller led a humble life, focusing more on his family than on lavish socializing. From his office in New York, he quietly managed Standard Oil, which controlled 90% of the oil refining market. However, with major shifts in the oil industry, like the advent of electricity and the discovery of new oil reserves, Rockefeller saw an opportunity for further expansion. To adapt, he shifted from horizontal integration, acquiring refineries, to vertical integration, aiming to control the entire oil supply chain, from drilling to distribution. Rockefeller invested heavily in Ohio's new oil fields, overcoming the stinking oil problem by developing a method to remove the foul odor. His leadership ensured Standard Oil's dominance when oil fields expanded in other regions. Additionally, the rise of automobiles, which relied on gasoline, offered a new revenue stream, helping Rockefeller thrive even during the 1893 economic crisis. In seeking to diversify, Rockefeller turned to Frederick Gates, a Baptist minister who helped turn Rockefeller's underperforming investments into profitable ones. Gates mentored Rockefeller's son, John D. Rockefeller Jr., who eventually helped manage the family's portfolio, leading to major investments in the railroad industry. One key investment was in the Mesabi Range, rich in high-quality iron ore, which caught the attention of steel magnate Andrew Carnegie. Seeing the potential threat to his steel empire, Carnegie negotiated with Rockefeller, who agreed to supply him with iron ore in exchange for a secret payment. The deal allowed both men to profit while undermining their competitors. However, financier J.P. Morgan had bigger plans. He saw the potential to merge Carnegie's steel empire with Rockefeller's assets to create an even larger monopoly. Morgan approached Rockefeller, but it was John Jr. who took charge of the negotiations. After a confident exchange, Morgan offered $88.5 million in U.S. steel stock for full control of the Mesabi Range. This deal eventually led to the creation of U.S. Steel, the first trillion-dollar company, with Rockefeller owning a significant stake. Thanks to booming gasoline demand and successful investments, Standard Oil continued to prosper. With his empire firmly in place, Rockefeller was ready to step back from business, leaving it in capable hands. John D. Rockefeller's failure to officially announce his retirement would come back to haunt him in the most significant way. Although he had stepped back from active business operations, he still owned roughly 30% of Standard Oil shares, and with the explosive growth of the automobile industry, his wealth only continued to rise. However, the public's perception of Standard Oil remained negative due to its monopolistic reputation, and John became increasingly associated with the company's ruthlessness. In this climate, President Theodore Roosevelt saw an opportunity to further solidify his political power. Roosevelt had already targeted Standard Oil before, but it wasn't until journalist Ida Tarbell's groundbreaking series of articles that public opinion truly turned against Rockefeller. Tarbell, whose father had been financially ruined by Rockefeller's tactics, exposed the darker side of Standard Oil in vivid detail. Her articles chronicled secret deals with railroads, bribery of politicians, and underhanded business practices. They also revealed personal aspects of Rockefeller's life, such as the abusive nature of his father and his controversial second marriage, further tarnishing his reputation. As public outrage mounted, Roosevelt capitalized on the growing disdain for Rockefeller. In his re-election campaign, Roosevelt vowed to break up monopolies, and his victory signaled the public's desire for action. A major investigation was launched against Standard Oil, backed by new antitrust laws, and the company faced not only 21 state lawsuits, but the largest federal lawsuit in U.S. history at the time. The case would drag on for years, but evidence of Standard Oil's monopoly and corrupt practices was overwhelming. The company controlled up to 87% of the nation's oil operations, using its dominance to manipulate prices and amass enormous profits. Finally, on May 15th, 1911, after more than 4 decades of dominance, Standard Oil was ordered to dissolve, breaking into several independent companies with no further ties to one another. While this seemed like a massive defeat for Rockefeller, the timing of the breakups actually worked in his favor. The oil industry was undergoing rapid change, with new oil discoveries in Texas and California, and the rise of Middle Eastern and Russian competitors. A key shift in the industry had already occurred. Gasoline, a byproduct of oil refining, was becoming more profitable than kerosene, and demand for gasoline was skyrocketing, particularly with the rise of automobiles. Since Rockefeller owned a substantial portion of Standard Oil's stock, he automatically received shares in all of the new companies created after the breakup. When these companies went public, the value of his holdings nearly tripled, making Rockefeller wealthier than ever. By the end of 1911, he became the world's first billionaire, surpassing Andrew Carnegie and solidifying his position as the richest person in the world. With his newfound wealth, Rockefeller could have retired in full, but his sense of responsibility and philanthropy drove him to continue working. He believed that his wealth was a divine gift and that he was meant to use it for the good of humanity. Rockefeller had always donated a portion of his income, but by the time of his retirement, he had already given away $150 million. He sought to create a lasting legacy of giving and establish the Rockefeller Foundation in 1913 with his son John Jr. and Frederick Gates. The foundation initially focused on healthcare and education, leading to significant contributions in both fields. Rockefeller's donations helped develop new treatments for diseases like hookworm and malaria, and he funded the creation of hundreds of schools, including two of the world's most prestigious research institutes. Over the years, Rockefeller's philanthropic contributions would total over $540 million, and adjusting for inflation, the value today is estimated to be in the tens of billions of dollars. That level of giving helped cement his legacy as one of the greatest philanthropists in history, though the duality of his character, his ruthless business practices, alongside his charitable work, continues to spark debate. John D. Rockefeller passed away at the age of 97 in 1937. Despite the controversies surrounding his business methods, his son, John Jr., famously remarked, "There was only one John D. Rockefeller," recognizing his father's undeniable impact on both the American economy and society at large. Rockefeller's legacy, marked by both innovation and exploitation, philanthropy and ruthlessness, is a testament to the complexities of one of the most influential figures in American history. While his empire may have been dismantled, his wealth and the system he built were far from destroyed. The lessons from his life, both positive and negative, continue to be relevant today in discussions about corporate power, wealth, and responsibility.